Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another Royal News video. So I've got a bit of an update for you from the last video. There has now been a photograph released on somebody else's Instagram account which showed Meghan was inside the venue. She doesn't look overly happy here. She hasn't got that usual big megawatt Hollywood super grin plastered on her face. She almost looks a little bit agitated. This still coincides with what People magazine had said. They said that she was in the venue, she was leaving, she was escorted out by a member of staff through the side door, but she was stopping and chatting to anybody that spoke to her. So this photograph does actually match up still to that story. Now, no matter what you choose to believe, that she was invited, she wasn't invited, she gate crashed, either way, it's still very obvious that Meghan has used a children's hospital gala, a fundraiser, to raise her own profile for a bit of damage control and, of course, to give herself maximum exposure. And the way that dress was cut, she certainly overachieved in that department. But that's enough of Meghan. Let's start talking about the real royals. Yesterday was a very special day, an 89th birthday for the Duke of Kent, who had a special surprise of the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, who performed Happy Birthday on the bagpipes for him outside of Kensington Palace as he stood alongside his younger brother, Prince Michael of Kent. The Duke of Kent, born Prince Edward, is Queen Elizabeth's first cousin, and he is the oldest brother of three. His younger brother, as I said, is Prince Michael of Kent, and he also has a younger sister who is Princess Alexandra. He has seen three monarchs ascend to the British throne, the first being his uncle, King George VI, then his cousin, of course, Queen Elizabeth II, and then, more recently, we of course had King Charles III. But admittedly, he was only 2 years old at King George's coronation. So many happy returns to the day for the Duke of Kent. Now, from one Prince Edward to the next, let's talk about the younger one, the Duke of Edinburgh, who is currently on a 4-day trip to the beautiful country of Malta with his also beautiful wife, Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. The royal visit was to celebrate 60 years of independence from the British Empire. The royal couple were warmly welcomed by Prime Minister Dr. Robert Abella and his wife Dr. Lydia Abella at the Auberge de Castile, where crowds of people had gathered to wave at the royal couple. Later on in the day, the Duke and Duchess attended a reception at the Whitehall Mansion, which is the residence of the British High Commissioner, and Sophie looked absolutely stunning in an Erdem dress. Now, I'm not so keen on that particular designer because I find a lot of their designs too fussy. There's almost too much going on. But this dress looked absolutely breathtaking on Sophie. The colour really popped on her. She looked absolutely beautiful. In fact, the fashion choices that she has picked throughout this entire trip has got a massive tick box from me, and she shows how to wear a blouse or a shirt with a nice patterned skirt. So as part of their action-packed 4 days, currently at the time of filming they are on day 3, they visited the Grand Harbour, where they cast a wreath and some flowers into the water from a naval vessel in memory of the British sailors who gave their lives defending Malta in World War II. They paid a visit to the War Museum, the Maritime Museum, and spent a fair amount of time meeting with various veterans and also serving members of the military. They also attended St Paul's Cathedral and the National Library, and before I lose track of the amount of places that they've been to, the British High Commission has put together a lovely video showing you of all of the things that Sophie and Edward have got up to. didn't that video clip make you think, oh, do you know what? Maybe I might pay a trip to Malta. But that's the thing. Real royal visits are about highlighting the country that they're visiting rather than highlighting themselves. There is always a bit of a tourism boom when there has been a royal visit abroad to these countries. And Malta is definitely no different, and it's definitely gone on my list now. But as part of Sophie and Edward's 4-day tour of the country yesterday, they paid a visit to a very special place that was held dearly in Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip's hearts. Villa Gardamangia is where they spent the first few years as a newlywed couple. It was said to have been the only time and place where they were allowed to be just an ordinary couple.
Together again in Malta, the Princess and the Duke meet in the George Cross Island and pose for these special pictures in the grounds of the lovely Villa Guardamangia, Malta residence of Earl Mountbatten. In the distance they can see HMS Chequers, the destroyer to which Prince Philip has been assigned as Jimmy the One, the Navy's term for a first lieutenant. It's the Princess's first real holiday since her honeymoon. Although Prince Philip is aboard his ship most of the day, the royal couple are able to spend more time together than ever in Britain.
But for their 60th wedding anniversary, they did in 2007 come back and spent some time here, which must have been incredibly special for both of them. And I love seeing the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh retracing the steps that obviously Prince Edward's parents did at one point. Sophie and Edward are such a lovely couple, and they were incredibly close to Queen Elizabeth, who saw Sophie as another daughter. And I think it was probably a very special time for both of them being there, knowing what a special place this was for Her late Majesty and, of course, as I said, Prince Philip as well. So now you can see why in 2015 a certain cable TV actress decided that she was discovering her ancestry, and she went to Malta to do so. This was all about Meghan changing her image because she'd already, in my opinion, set her sights on Prince Harry. She changed agents, she got the UN Women gig, everything about Meghan she was changing and moulding to be the perfect person to ensnare her target. Meghan managed to convince Elle magazine to pay for her and her agent to go to Malta, as her great-great-grandmother was Maltese. It was all about Meghan discovering her heritage. Coming to Malta has been really important to me because my great-great-grandmother lived here, so we've been trying to trace the ancestry. This trip was all about trying to understand where I come from and fit in the piece of the puzzle. Before I came here, people were telling me, when you go to Malta, everyone will look like you. And I started to say, oh my gosh, I do sort of blend in. Not a drop of Maltese blood in her. And isn't it funny that Meghan was doing her ancestry trace in Malta in 2015, yet funnily enough, she didn't realise that she was 43% Nigerian. I guess back in 2015, it wasn't that beneficial to her. Her great-great-great-grandmother was Irish, as was the grandfather. They gave birth to a daughter, and she was also Irish, although she was obviously born on Maltese soil. They then travelled across and settled in America. So yes, Meghan doesn't have a drop of Maltese DNA. It was all about completely, as I said, changing her image. And of course, bagging a freebie holiday, all expenses paid, on Elle magazine. So moving away from Meghan, let's talk about the King, who alongside Queen Camilla recently held a reception at St James's Palace for the Commonwealth diaspora. This is obviously in the build-up to King Charles going to Australia and to Samoa very, very soon. In fact, it's in a matter of weeks. I think they fly on the 18th of October. As part of this event, King Charles met with very, very famous singer and actress and model Grace Jones. She is one of the most striking women that has ever walked this earth. She has done some of the most incredible modelling shots, but I'm going to be honest with you, there's a little bit about her. I know she's eccentric. She scares me a little bit. I once watched her on Alan Carr. Now, Alan Carr is a UK comedian. He's absolutely hilarious, but you could not get more camp. He puts the G-A-Y in gay, you know? And she came on stage and she grabbed him and snogged him. We are talking full on facial violation. And he looked terrified and slightly traumatised and potentially needing therapy. And ever since then, I just think she's very unpredictable. But luckily, she didn't pull the same move on King Charles. I'm not sure at his age, his heart could deal with it. Now, one thing that the king can deal with at his age is busting out some moves, and there's plenty of life in the old dog yet. Now, he was completely being encouraged and put on the spot by former Samoan rugby player Freddie Tuilagi, but the king, he did. He's like, hold my drink, and he got involved with it. Now, he might be a little bit rusty, but soon he is going to Samoa, so hopefully he will brush up on his moves while he's out there. But I love the fact the king's like, yeah, okay, fine, hold my drink, I'm going to do this. He fully invested. And I'm really looking forward to the King and Queen's tour to Australia and to Samoa. They've shaved down a lot of the itinerary because of the King's health, and they've actually said that the King is briefly stopping his ongoing cancer treatment, but it is purely under the advisement of the doctors. He's got the top doctors. He's got the royal doctors that he would have inherited from his mother. So if the doctors say it's okay, we can trust that the king is well enough to do such a trip. And it is a very long trip, but I am very much looking forward to it nonetheless. So while we're speaking about trips abroad, it seems that Harry is still abroad because nobody's seen him. He went to South Africa, he's gone to see Chelsea, and he's never coming back. No, obviously I'm completely making that up. No one quote me on that one. But the last he was seen was in South Africa, I think. So there might be some truth to it, who knows? But regardless, Harry has had a double dose of bad news in a mere matter of weeks. First up, which we all knew was going to happen, Netflix. Now, Netflix did go that one further with Harry, where they actually look like that they have produced Harry's polo show. We've had a little trailer for it, but they are reportedly disappointed and upset with it because Harry barely features in it. Yes, their main star, the person, let's be honest, the reason why Netflix gave them all that money was because they wanted Harry. Much like Spotify, they've barely got Harry. Despite Harry being in the paparazzi shots showing that he was involved in the filming, Harry decided to stay that side, apparently, of the camera. And this show is now more based around his buddy, his muse, his brother from another mother, Nacho. Now, whilst Nacho is easy on the eyes, and I'm sure that he has got a lot more footage of him playing in polo tournaments all around the world, because let's be honest, we've barely seen Harry play over the last couple of years. It's obvious that this show really probably didn't have any decent footage of Harry at all. In fact, some of the photographs we've seen with Harry playing polo, he may not have really wanted to include these in the documentary. So obviously this show, I think we all knew it was going to be a bit of a flop. You will have the initial burst where people will watch it, but the fact that Netflix have even said that Harry's not in it, that's possibly just probably done more damage to their view account, because unless you're a fan, particularly of Nacho, which, you know, obviously he does have fans as well, you're not really going to be watching it because there's going to be no Harry and no Meghan. And that's the only thing that people will watch that for. Normally to see what lies they're going to come out with or what stupid stunts they're going to pull. Which brings me, funnily enough, to my final story. Harry has yet again had more claims thrown out, and he has also been told off for wasting the court's resources. Harry has already had his phone hacking claim thrown out because he waited too long before starting his court case. Harry said it was because there was a secret agreement between the royals, Buckingham Palace and the press, and the judge said, that's not plausible, you've got no evidence and I can't just take your word for it. So that was also out. He also had things to do with Chelsea Davy thrown out. There are rumours, again, these are blinds, I don't know how true they are, but rumours that Chelsea and her husband are not happy that Harry mentioned her and used Chelsea so many times in his court case without her permission. Now that is entirely plausible, believable, not helped by the fact that he also mentioned Chelsea hundreds of times in spare. I can't imagine her husband is too best pleased with Harry, who quite clearly still has not got over the one that got away. Now, the latest thing that the judge has thrown out is all to do with Harry's paranoia and delusions over being bugged. Tracked. Apparently, Harry thought that rooms had been bugged, cars had been bugged, tracking devices, all sorts of things had gone on. And to me, he sounds like he's losing it a little bit. This level of paranoia, I do believe it is genuine with Harry. I do believe that he honestly believes this stuff. And I do think it's because Meghan has been twisting that noodle. She's been putting an earworm in there from the moment he met her, from the lies about the fact she was being stalked and harassed in Canada. She had to have security on the set on Suits. It was all messing with Harry's brain. It's how she twisted him and manipulated him. I'm gonna die just like your mother from the get-go. And Harry, I do believe, as I said, the delusions of the paranoia, I do think he really truly is that paranoid. But he's got no evidence. That's the problem here. This is a court of law. If you haven't got any evidence, anything that you can supply other than, oh, my room was bugged, this was bugged, the judge naturally has turned around and said, look, you've got nothing, this has to go. Harry has shown time and time again across multiple court cases he does not have a shred of evidence. Justice Fancourt is now so exasperated by all the ridiculous claims that he said, no more. Stop wasting the court's time. There will be no more delays or exceptions between now and when the trial starts in January. He has basically warned Harry and his legal team of being a vexatious client. You are testing my time, the court's time, my patience. Stop messing around. I'm not playing games anymore. And there will be absolutely no delays, no excuses until this trial starts in January. So given the fact that Harry has no evidence to back up any of his claims, and then he seems to miraculously hide or destroy evidence which would go against him, I don't think this court case is off to a great start, to be honest with you. And I'm really seeing with Harry and Meghan, it's amazing that their star continues to fall, but here we are. So I can't even see 2025 being a better year for either one of them. What with Meghan using children's hospital galas to promote herself, Harry having more stuff, which is basically saying, dude, you're making up too much stuff. Nobody believes you. You've got no evidence. Stop doing it. By a judge, a legal court. It's really, really not a good look for either one of them. So guys, that's it for me on this video. Tell me your thoughts and I will be back with you very soon where I will be talking about Prince William. Take care for now. See you soon. Bye.